Hi, I'm your 4th District State Representative, Matt Shea. Thank you for joining me on this legislative update. So here we are on day 60 of what is supposed to be the final day of our legislative session, and it appears we are actually heading into a special session. And let me be very clear about why the governor would call a special session. One reason: to raise your taxes. We've had 60 days to work out the problems of a $2.7 billion budget deficit. And the reason we have this deficit is because our Democrat governor and the Democrats who control the House and Senate could not control their spending habits. Now we'll hear them whine and blame our budget problems on the recession. But make no mistake, our state budget was in serious problems long before the recession hit. Let's go back to 2003. State spending that year was at $25 billion. That was the year the Democrats took the majority in the House after having a 4-year tie with Republicans. By 2007, the budget had grown to $33 billion, a 32% increase in just 4 years. At the same time, our revenues were increasing annually at about 6%. The Democrats were spending roughly 17% more. And everybody knows you cannot spend more money than you take in, or soon you're going to be in trouble. Even the governor's budget advisors said that the level of spending was unsustainable. So blame it all you want on the recession, but our state's budget was in trouble months before the recession hit because there's been no fiscal leadership in the legislature. Now the majority party wants employers and taxpayers to bail the state out from their years of unsustainable and irresponsible spending. Lack of leadership has brought us to this point where we're now going to have to go into overtime. And guess what? The Democrats have so many tax increase proposals that between the House and Senate, they've been in a stalemate because they can't agree on which taxes to raise. Well, we know one thing for sure. Both the House and Senate Democrats want to raise your taxes by almost $1 billion. That would be the largest tax increase in the history of the state of Washington. The governor is going to call a special session at $18,000 a day so the Democrats can raise your taxes. Just think of what $18,000 a day for a special session could pay for. If we were in session for just 3 days, that's enough for the salary of one school teacher. There's no reason that we should be going into a special session. The work of the session should have been done and could have been accomplished on time if the majority party had shown leadership, discipline, and had engaged with Republicans in a more collaborative way. My Republican colleagues and I rolled up our sleeves and got to work on day 1 of the session. We offered a jobs plan that would get people working again in the private sector. The Democrats were not interested in that and blocked our legislation. And then we offered ways to restructure and reduce the budget deficit, making sure spending was prioritized to the top 3 functions of government: education, public safety, and our most vulnerable citizens. Unfortunately, Democrats were not interested in any of those solutions. The governor came out instead with an all-cuts budget in December to soften up citizens for tax increases. And it was that direction majority Democrats were determined to take in the budget. They introduced legislation to suspend the Taxpayer Protection Act to make it easier to raise taxes with only a simple majority. Well, I fought alongside other Republicans for 10 hours on the House floor to uphold the will of the people. Unfortunately, we did not prevail, and they, taking I-960, gutted it. It passed and was signed into law then by the governor. So now they've proposed a budget that continues to add new programs funded by nearly $1 billion of tax increases, anticipated federal stimulus money, which Congress may or may not approve, draining the state's rainy day fund and raiding money from other dedicated accounts. At the same time, there's only been a 1% reduction in the budget. In other words, Democrats in the legislature still can't control their spending. Meantime, Spokane County has an unemployment rate of 10.6%, and the majority party is going to push more employers to either shut down or move to Idaho, just 10 miles away. In fact, Idaho Governor Butch Otter sees the Washington tax package as the Idaho Economic Stimulus Act. He even sent a love letter this week to Washington businesses inviting them to go to Idaho. Calling a special session at $18,000 a day to increase your taxes by $1 billion, it's insanity, folks. And I'm going to ask you for your help one more time. Please call the governor, the House Speaker, and the Senate Majority Leader. Tell them no special session and no tax increases. Here's the toll-free legislative hotline where you can reach them. It's 1-800-562-6000. That's 1-800-562-6000. Please make that call now. Let's stop the governor and the Democrats from hurting unemployed families. Let's stop them from killing more jobs, and let's keep our employers here in Washington. And let's put the kibosh on the Idaho Economic Stimulus Act. Thank you again for joining me on this legislative update. I'm your state representative, Matt Shea.